In this video, we're going to be comparing the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE versus the Apple iPhone 12. So let's get started. Now, both of these devices are offered factory unlocked and will work with any carrier in the US. With the Galaxy S20 FE, we're getting a 6.5-inch display compared to a 6.1-inch display with the iPhone 12. Now you can see when holding these two phones up next to each other, the FE is definitely the larger phone of the two. Not only is the display bigger, but the phone's overall body is bigger as well. There's also quite a few differences when it comes to the displays. Now with the Galaxy S20 FE, we're getting a Super AMOLED display which has the ability to perform at 120 Hz. Whereas with the iPhone 12, we're getting an OLED display, which does look nice, but it is limited at 60 Hz. Now with the S20 FE, we're getting a 1080p display compared to the iPhone 12's display, which is 1170 by 2532. So pretty much 1080p as well. Now with the S20 FE, we're getting a PPI of 407, compared to a PPI of 460 with the iPhone. With the FE, we're getting a 20:9 aspect ratio compared to a 19.5:9 aspect ratio with the iPhone 12. And then finally, with the Galaxy S20 FE, we're getting an 84.8% screen-to-body ratio compared to an 86% screen-to-body ratio with the iPhone 12. Now, one major difference between these two devices is that with the S20 FE, we are getting a hole punch for the front-facing camera compared to a very large notch for the iPhone 12. Now with the S20 FE, we're getting a 32 megapixel front-facing camera compared to a 12 megapixel front-facing camera with the iPhone 12. Now with both of these phones, we do have the base configurations, and for the base model S20 FE, we're getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion. Whereas with the iPhone, the base model comes with 64 gigabytes of internal storage, so half the amount, and there's no microSD card expansion. Now with both devices, we do get wireless charging, which is definitely appreciated. And with the S20 FE, we have a fingerprint sensor built into the display, which does work very well. And we also have face unlock. And with the iPhone 12, there is no fingerprint sensor, and we do have face unlock, and it's known as Face ID. Now I will give Apple some credit. Face ID is more secure compared to the face unlock technology that comes with the S20 FE, but I do appreciate with the FE that we do get multiple options. Now taking a look at the camera modules on both phones. With the S20 FE, we have a triple camera setup. So there's a 12 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and an 8 megapixel 3x optical zoom telephoto camera. Whereas with the iPhone 12, we have a dual camera setup with a 12 megapixel main camera and a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. So there is no telephoto camera here with the iPhone 12. And if you do want to get that feature, then you are going to have to get the iPhone 12 Pro. Now, as far as the RAM and processors go, with the FE, we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM. Whereas with the iPhone 12, we're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM. And with the FE, we're getting the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 processor. Whereas with the iPhone 12, we're getting the Apple A14 Bionic processor. Now, since these devices do run different operating systems, the level of optimization is definitely different. And I will give Apple credit that iOS does not require as high of amount of RAM and as powerful of a processor in order for the operating system to run really well. So when it comes to the RAM and processors in these two devices, I'll give it a tie. Now with both phones, we have 4K video recording that does max out at 60 FPS for both the rear and front cameras, which is awesome. Now with the Galaxy S20 FE, we're getting a very beefy 4,500 milliamp hour internal battery, whereas with the iPhone 12, we are getting a very small battery at 2,815 milliamp hours. Now the FE's battery supports 25 watt fast charging, whereas with the iPhone 12, we're getting 20 watt fast charging supported. Now both devices do have NFC. In the situation for the S20 FE, we do have Samsung Pay on here, whereas with the iPhone 12, we do have Apple Pay. And both of these devices are water and dust resistant. But now that we've gone over the main specifications of these two phones, let's take a closer look at the hardware to see the similarities and differences. So I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here on both phones. They both do have flat displays, which I certainly do like quite a bit, but there's definitely no getting past how much of a difference there is between that tiny hole punch for the front-facing camera and this really giant, outdated looking notch with the iPhone 12. Now taking a look at the left side of both devices, with the S20 FE we have nothing, whereas with the iPhone 12 we have the mute switch, and then we also have the volume up and volume down buttons. Another interesting thing too is that the side rails on both of these phones are made out of metal. Then on the right side of both phones, on the FE, we have the volume up and volume down, and then we also have the power button. And then on the right side of the iPhone 12, we just have the power button. Then taking a look at the top of both phones, with the S20 FE, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, and also the noise canceling microphone. Whereas with the iPhone 12, we have nothing. And then taking a look at the bottom of both devices, with both phones, we have the microphone and speaker. And then with the FE, we have a USB-C port for charging and data transfer. And then with the iPhone 12, we have the Lightning port for charging and data transfer. And then taking a look at the back side of both phones, there are certainly quite a few differences. So with the Galaxy S20 FE, we do have plastic on the back, but overall, I do like this finish, and I do also like that it doesn't pick up too many fingerprints. And then with the iPhone 12, we do have glass on the back, we have the Apple logo right here, and the back of the phone definitely picks up a lot of fingerprints. That's very obvious here. So in conclusion, which of these devices is the better phone of the two? Now, if you're really into Android, or if you're really into iOS, then it's going to be very easy for you to pick which route to go. If you're already very invested in Apple's ecosystem, whether it's using FaceTime, iMessage, AirDrop, and you likely also have a bunch of apps that you've purchased over the years from the App Store, then it's definitely going to be difficult to not get another iPhone and instead switch over to Android. Whereas if you currently have an Android phone, then moving on to the S20 FE is going to be a very easy transition. One thing for sure though that I think everybody can agree on is that this comparison definitely shows you how many extra features and better specifications you are getting with the S20 FE compared to the iPhone 12. I know that for me personally, I enjoy using my devices for content consumption, whether that's watching video content, browsing the web, or going on social media, and having this really massive display like you get with the S20 FE really does make a big difference. Of course, the display itself is bigger, but in addition to that, you don't have this massive notch taking up so much space. And then another very clear benefit here with the S20 FE is that we're getting double the amount of internal storage. It really would have been nice with the iPhone 12 if they could have at least given us 128 gigabytes for the base model option. Because I don't know if you've noticed lately, but it seems like apps are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So as apps get bigger, these companies need to respond by giving the user more and more storage. Now I'll give Samsung credit. They've done that here with the S20 FE. Giving us 128 gigabytes for the base model option is definitely very generous. And then of course, we do also have microSD card expansion. But for the iPhone 12, if you do buy the 64 gigabyte variant, then in a few years from now, you might not be able to fit all your apps onto the phone. So definitely something there to consider. But this is the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE versus the Apple iPhone 12. I hope this video was helpful.